pause whatever you're doing. Lean in, because what you're about to hear is not just a message, it's a divine summons. This moment right here, right now, is not random. It's not coincidence. It's God's perfect orchestration, aligning. The exact word your spirit has been crying out for at the exact time you are ready to receive it. You've been asking for clarity. You've been pleading for answers. You've walked through battles so intense they almost made you doubt your calling, but here it is. The final verdict from heaven has been rendered. Your battle is over, not almost over, not easing up. It is finished. The case has been closed. The chains are broken, and divine justice has now been served on your behalf. Can you feel it? That shift in the atmosphere? It's not imagined. It's spiritual reality. Something is snapping into alignment. What once resisted you is losing its grip. What once tormented you is now trembling at your release, because heaven has declared. Enough. The very thing that wore you down is now powerless. There was a specific battle in your life. Maybe it was financial. Maybe it was relational. Maybe it was emotional warfare, depression, anxiety, or fear. Whatever it was, it consumed your energy. It questioned your identity. It almost convinced you that you were cursed. But hear this with your whole heart. God has ruled in your favor, and the accuser has been silenced. There's a reason it felt like you were being dragged through the fire, because you weren't just in a battle, you were in a trial. And now, the judge has spoken. The gavel has hit the desk. The records have been cleared, and the verdict is not just freedom, it's vindication. You passed the test. Heaven was watching. This wasn't just about breakthrough. This was about your becoming. Heaven was watching how you responded when no one clapped, how you remained when others left, how you stayed silent when slander came, how you worshiped when it hurt to lift your hands. You didn't break down, you were being built. And now, because you didn't give up, you're being graduated. The season you're leaving wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Like the Israelites, you had to wander through your wilderness, not because you were lost, but because God was teaching you how to live free. And now, the lesson is complete. The test is passed. The chains are off. And heaven says, step forward. The familiar pain that used to hold you no longer has power. This moment is about spiritual severance. Heaven is cutting cords, attachments to people, patterns, and beliefs that were secretly slowing your destiny. There's a strange comfort in familiar pain, even when it hurts. We cling to it because we've learned how to survive with it. But you weren't created to survive. You were created to thrive. And now, God is not asking for your opinion. He's declaring your exit from the cycles, from the torment, from the trauma that kept replaying in your soul. This is a final break, not because you're stronger, but because God is merciful. You're not leaving empty-handed, you're leaving empowered. Might feel like all you did in that last season was survive, but in truth, you are collecting weapons. You are collecting wisdom. You are learning when to speak and when to pray. You are learning how to hear God even in silence. You are learning how to trust when answers didn't come. And now you're walking out of that courtroom like Joseph out of prison, clothed in favor. You're coming out like Daniel out of the lion's den, untouched, unbothered, and elevated. Don't minimize what you just survived. You didn't just come through it. You came out transformed. Your new chapter has already begun. This isn't something that's about to happen. It's already happening. The shift is live. The portal has opened. The season has changed, and the voice of God is not whispering anymore. It's thundering. Behold, I do a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19. This new season isn't just a fresh start. It's a fresh strategy. Now you build. Now you walk through the doors that were previously locked. Now you speak with a clarity that once evaded you. Now you carry the authority that hell tried to strip from you. The wilderness didn't break you, it built you. And now you're ready, Let this be your declaration today. The case is closed. My past is behind me. My victory is secure. My steps are ordered, and I will walk forward in the full freedom God has declared over my life. Drop a comment. My case is closed. I walk in victory. And subscribe to Bible Peak for the next part of this revelation as we go deeper into what God is establishing in this new chapter of your life. You are not who you were. You are free. You are released. You are walking forward into a promise no devil in hell can delay. And the courtroom of heaven now chose with one sound, case closed, chosen one. Now that heaven has declared the case closed, now that the gavel has dropped in the spirit, this next phase requires more than gratitude, it requires understanding. Because you are not just freed from something, you've been released into something far greater. This was never just about survival. It was about spiritual jurisdiction. What held you before has no legal claim now. What tormented your bloodline can't touch you. What whispered in your dreams can't cross this threshold. You're not under trial anymore. You're under authority. And the reason you feel different, even if you can't explain it, is because something in the spirit realm has shifted for real. The weight is gone. The accusations are silent. The shame has no voice. And the sentence has not only been reversed, it's been canceled. You didn't just get off the hook, you got rewritten into the will. Heaven didn't just dismiss the case against you. It rewrote your future. You are now in divine position to access everything that was delayed. The enemy wanted you so bound in shame, fear, and emotional exhaustion that you'd never have the strength to reach for what was promised. But now the record has been cleared, and God is saying, now that you're free, I can finally show you what was always yours. Freedom isn't the end, it's the starting line. Now you move. Now you build. Now you reclaim every space you left behind when you were stuck in survival mode, because you didn't walk out of that courtroom empty-handed. You walked out with favor, stamped on your name and grace sealed to your shoulders. The battle was legal, but grace was higher. It's important you understand this. What came against you wasn't always imagined. The warfare was real. The spiritual charges against your progress were rooted in generational iniquity, bloodline curses, trauma, soul TIs, and unfinished cycles. Hell had paperwork. The demons had documentation. The accusations had accuracy, but the blood had power. And when the judge looked at the file, he didn't dismiss it because it wasn't valid. He dismissed it because Jesus had already paid for it. The debt was satisfied. The torment was terminated. The chain of guilt was shattered. And now, what once chased you no longer has permission to follow you. You are free not because of a loophole, but because of a lamb. You are no longer a defendant. You are a delegate. Know that the case is closed. Your identity has shifted. You are not standing trial. You are now standing in authority. You are not on the defensive. You are on divine assignment. This means your words carry weight. Your presence shifts atmospheres. Your hands are no longer tied. They are anointed to build. Your name in the Spirit is not survivor. It's sent. You are heaven's delegate in the earth. You are not just free to live. You are free to lead. Every room you enter from this point forward is a territory claim. Every decision you make now ripples with generational effect. Every prayer you speak now carries fire, because it is no longer obstructed by fear. You are no longer on trial. So stop thinking like a prisoner. Know that you are free. Your mindset must follow suit. Too many believers walk out of spiritual bondage, but still think like captives. They question every open door. They disqualify themselves from every assignment. They play small, shrink back, and apologize for their fire. Not you, not anymore. You must stop explaining your glow. You must stop second-guessing your oil. You must stop revisiting your old cell just to double-check if you really belong on the outside. You're not on probation. You're not under review. You are not on thin ice with God. You are fully released, completely covered. permanently cleared. So start thinking like someone who is authority every place. Your feet tread has been reassigned to you. You may feel like you're walking into old places, but they're not the same, because you're not the same. That neighborhood, reassigned that workplace, reclaimed that relationship, rewritten that voice that once trembled when you prayed, now carries volume in the spirit, because now when you move, it's not just momentum, it's mandate. The enemy will try to convince you nothing changed, but the proof isn't in your feelings, it's in the fruit. You're waking up earlier, you're discerning more clearly, you're dreaming again, you're praying with fire you didn't know you had. That's the sign that you've crossed over. The accuser will still whisper, but he has no access. Just because the case is closed doesn't mean the enemy won't try to reopen it in your mind. He will whisper, he will remind you, he will reintroduce old temptations and faces from dead seasons. But that's not evidence of failure, it's confirmation of your freedom. Because now, he doesn't have legal ground, only suggestion. He has no access, only old memories. He has no power, only the lies you choose not to refute. And every time he tries, remind him of the courtroom, remind him of the blood, remind him of the verdict, remind him that his accusations are outdated, irrelevant, and eternally overruled. You're not just free to walk away, you're free to walk into promises, walk into platforms, walk into wholeness, walk into callings that were once too heavy to carry, walk into clarity that was once clouded by condemnation. You're not just exiting a prison, you're entering purpose, and you're not going in ashamed, you're going in announced. This is your divine ray entry, not as the broken one, not as the black sheep, not as the one who almost made it, but as the one who was cleared, called, and commissioned by heaven's highest authority. The sentence is canceled. The silence is over. The stage is set. You don't have to wait for the right time, the right moment, the right person to believe in you. Heaven believes in you. The kingdom is behind you, and the next door is already opening as you take the first step. You are delivered. Now you've been deployed, and you will not return to the courtroom because the judge already ruled. Case closed. Now rise, walk like it, speak like it, build like it, live like it. Chosen one, now that the sentence has been canceled, now that the prison doors have not just been opened but torn off their hinges, the next thing you must know is this: heaven didn't just release you to rest, heaven released you to reign. You've been sitting in the courtroom of breakthrough, but now God is walking you into the throne room of assignment. You are no longer wearing the garments of the accused. You are now clothed in righteousness, crowned in fire, and called to function with authority. You're not just a witness to your own freedom, you are a weapon now. What does that mean? It means your pain has become prophecy. Your scars now carry strategy. Your history is now holy ammunition, and your voice is not just a sound, it's a summons. You're not just cleared, you're commissioned. At this is where many get it wrong. They think once they're free, the next step is to coast. Enjoy the view. Rebuild what was lost. Find comfort again. But you weren't rescued just to be restored. You were commissioned. Think of Paul. The moment he was blinded and his vision restored, the next words from heaven weren't rest a while. They were go. Think of Peter. After denying Christ and being reinstated, Jesus didn't say, "Take a sabbatical." He said, "Feed my sheep. You have work to do. You have nations to speak to. You have demons to displace. You have altars to rebuild. You have generations to deliver." The verdict was the beginning. The release was the activation. Heaven's power now moves through your yes. That yes you whispered in a broken place. That surrender you gave when nothing made sense. That cry you let out when you had no more words. It shook something in the spirit. It broke things off your bloodline. It released keys into your hands you couldn't even see at the time. And now, because of your yes, heaven moves when you move. You don't walk into rooms alone. You don't pray from the outside, you pray from within. You don't just carry a gift, you carry a mantle, and mantles don't make suggestions. They make shifts. The authority you carry isn't learned, it's lived to you. Can't fake this. You can't perform this. You can't buy it. You can't borrow it. You had to bleed for it. That's why when you open your mouth now, atmospheres tremble. That's why people you've never met stop and look twice. That's why your name carries weight in rooms you haven't even entered yet. You carry the residue of someone who stayed when others left, who worshipped with nothing in your hands, who said, yes, when there was no reward, only refinement. And now, the power you carry isn't surface level, it's seismic. You're not just rebuilding, you're releasing. Didn't waste this season trying to repair what's already been buried. Don't spend energy grieving what can't follow you into your calling. This is not a time for patchwork, it's a time for release. Release the word, release the plan, release the book, the ministry, the vision, the business. Release the idea that's been burning in your bones. Release the roar you silenced for years, because now heaven trusts your voice. Heaven trusts your stewardship. Heaven trusts your posture. This is why the warfare was so specific, why the isolation was so intense, why the pruning felt so personal, because what you're releasing now is dangerous to hell. You're not coming back. Empty-handed, some people survive and walk out limping, but not you. You're coming out with scrolls, with songs, with blueprints, with oil that only comes from deep crushing, with clarity that only comes after the breaking. You're walking out like Moses with the glow of someone who's been with God. You're walking out like Elijah, fresh off fire, but ready to raise up others. You're walking out like Deborah, not just a judge, but a general. You're not limping, you're launching. You're not weeping, you're warring. And the enemy is watching you rise from the dust he thought would bury you, and he's terrified because your silence was misread. Your pause was mistaken as paralysis, but really, you are being armed. Now you move with power and purpose. You will not walk without precision anymore. You will not serve from burnout anymore. You will not guess your next move anymore, because you are not wandering, you are sent. Every place your feet now tread carries spiritual significance. Every relationship you step into now has eternal consequence. Every word you release is a seed that will bloom in someone else's deliverance. You are not random. You are not optional. You are appointed, and the same God who spoke, case closed, is now declaring, commission confirmed. Let this settle deep in your spirit. You're not the same person who cried at that altar. You're not the same soul who wept in that bedroom. You're not the same heart that once begged for release. You are now someone who has stared hell in the face and walked out with fire. You've been refined. You've been trusted. You've been authorized, and now you've been activated. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. Let the commission rise without apology. Let the healed become heralds. You've been called. You've been cleansed. You've been charged. And you are no longer waiting. You are walking, chosen one. Now that the gavel has fallen, the sentence canceled, the chains broken, and your authority activated, there remains only one command from heaven. Walk like it's already done. Because it is. You're not waiting on freedom. You're not waiting on permission. You're not waiting on validation. Heaven already issued its final word. And now, the only thing left to do is move like someone who's been released. This last part is not about revelation. It's about responsibility. You've been entrusted. You've been refined. You've been mantled. Now, the kingdom waits for your obedience. Because your next step isn't about feelings, it's about faith. This is no longer about surviving, it's about stewarding. You were once fighting to breathe. Now, you're breathing fire. You were once wondering how to make it through the week. Now you're being called to lead nations. What changed? You did. The storm didn't break you, it baptized you. The betrayal didn't destroy you, it graduated you. The wilderness didn't waste you, it weaponized you. And now Heaven's watching to see what you do with the victory already in your hands. You are no longer at the mercy of the battle. You are now a builder in the Spirit. You're not just praying for breakthroughs, you're now someone others will run to for theirs. Your feet are anointed for dominion. Where you walk now is different. Every space you step into carries heavenly authority. Every conversation you hold is laced with the Word. Every decision you make is wired with wisdom. You don't just move, you advance. You don't beg for rooms anymore. You shift the room when you walk in. That means you don't apologize for your clarity. You don't downplay your insight. You don't suppress your discernment. You don't dilute your presence. You've been through too much to shrink now. You've endured too much to tiptoe. You've paid too high a price to now pretend that your glow is optional. This level requires confidence in Christ, not caution in culture. You're not carrying favor. You've become a gauntlet. This hit you deep. You're no longer someone walking in favor. You are now someone who hosts it. You are a gate between heaven and earth. You are a portal through which healing flows. You are a vessel through which strategy drops. You are a voice through which legacy awakens. And because of that, your life is now a weapon and a wonder. This is why your warfare was so personal, because the enemy knew once you figured out who you were, he wouldn't be able to control what you do next. And now that you're free, every step you take is a strike against darkness. The people who watched you cry will now watch you build. These saw the breakdowns. They saw the isolation. They heard the gossip. They assumed it was over. But what they didn't know is that you weren't being buried, you were being planted. And now, the same ones who watched your wilderness will witness your release, not out of revenge, but out of reverence for a God who never wastes a crushing, out of honor for a process that refined you with fire, out of purpose for the assignment you're now stepping into without hesitation. You don't need to say anything. Your fruit will speak. Your peace will prophesy. Your consistency will convict. You're not just free to worship, you're free to build something that lasts. What comes next is legacy. You're not just anointed, you're assigned. You're not just called, you're positioned. You're not just filled, you're focused. Now you write the book. Now you launch the ministry. Now you start the prayer movement. Now you go back to the people who knew the old you and introduce them to the version hell couldn't break. Because you're not returning to shame, you're returning to take territory. This time you're not coming with tears, you're coming with tools. Stop looking for signs. You are the synthesis. Where many stall, they wait, they fast again. They make sure, they hesitate. But God is saying, move. You are the sign your generation has been waiting for. You are the evidence that God still heals, still calls, still restores, still delivers. You are the walking, breathing sermon that religious systems can't silence and secular culture can't explain. You're not just carrying fire, you are the confirmation that God's word never returns void. So stop looking for a green light. You've already been released. Your name is cleared. Your voice is unlocked. Your crown has been confirmed. Your future is not coming, it's here. You don't need to wait for 2025. You don't need to wait for someone to open a door. You don't need to wait until you feel more spiritual. God says walk. Walk through the doors. Walk in the room. Walk past the shame. Walk around the fear. Walk on the water if necessary, because this level doesn't move for comfort, it moves for covenant, and God already signed his part in blood. Your closing word is this: walk like you already want. No more second guessing, and no more rehearsing pain, and no more explaining your peace, and no more revisiting what's already been resolved in heaven. The battle was real. The wounds were deep, but the verdict was final. Case closed, crown confirmed, authority activated, future unlocked. Now walk like it and never look back.